JSN to the moon as DK Metcalf looks to move locations. And this guy goes to the moon as well, depending on where he goes. Cooper Kupp might not be going anywhere, according to a couple reports. We've got Max Crosby with the new deal and contract. The rumors of him maybe going to San Francisco and all these other locations is out the window. And we have a whole bunch of other news. Christian Kirk released. We've got now a whole different free agent, market shaping up at the wide receiver position, potentially, at least if you include free agents and players that are potentially able to be had via trade. The Fantasy Football Show, the Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday show, breaking news show, your favorite show, begins right now. File on in.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios.
It's the Fantasy Football Show.
Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
Smitty, I'm looking at this list of teams, and there's no way this team or that team or the Commanders or anybody would be going after DK Metcalf. Smitty, what are you talking about here? I know everything, and you just have a show.
I understand how pissed off some of you get when you see teams on here that you don't think might acquire DK Metcalf. This is conversation. Calm down. Don't get your panties in a bunch, Philip. We've got a bunch of landing spots, some of which we just think are great spots, some of which are not even being talked about, but they're logical. Or they're not logical, we just like them, like the Commanders landing spot. This was a great landing spot, now it's not likely. So running your mouth in the comments over and over about this, you're not listening or paying attention. These are all landing spots worth having conversations about. What could have been. Would the Commanders have even made this move had they not already got Deebo Samuel? Would I personally, not the Commanders, would I personally go get DK Metcalf even though I already have him? Absolutely. JSN to the mother freaking moon. Can we just say that? No, not the moon.
To the moon.
No, not Mars.
To Saturn.
To Saturn.
The Saturn Men.
One small step for man, one giant leap for Saturn.
Look at this Saturn list, ladies and gentlemen. Look at these monsters right here. Top of round 3 ADP for Bucky.
Spaceman.
Third round ADP for JSN. Kyron Williams in round 3. Breece Hall in round 3. Smitty, I don't think Breece Hall and Kyron are going in round 3. Why don't you do a draft and before you act like you don't know where these guys are going? But this man right here, if this man leaves, goes to mother freaking Saturn.
To Saturn.
His stock goes up.
Stock on the road.
We're already excited about him. Your boy Smitty already put him on the board. The February bold predictions. Smitty drops 3 of them on the bold prediction board. Everybody else, any $50 super chat gets to drop their prediction on the board. At the end of the year, we vote on who wins. I'm obviously not a part of that. I'm not going to win. If your boy ends up winning it, then that's nothing to do with it. The person that wins the prediction outside of my predictions, I just throw 3 up there so I can have them there. Whoever wins this co-hosts the show with me. At least a segment on video or the whole thing on the phone, whatever you prefer. JSN goes to the moon, and as I put on the board up here, he is a top 4 wide receiver potentially this year as a bold prediction. And this was before any DK Metcalf talk. Imagine what people are going to say about JSN if DK is not in Dodge anymore. Genty, top 5 running back. Neighbors, wide receiver 1. Dark horse, bold prediction stuff. Who cares? If you don't like it. You don't like it, there's the door. Okay? You don't have to come watch a outside the box show like this one if you like cookie cutter. You like cookie cutter? That's downstream, pal. This ain't that. This ain't that, pal. This is the JSN country. This is where JSN cooks.
Let him cook.
This is where Bucky. This is where you take a Bucky bath whenever you want.
Get buckied.
DK Metcalf We talked about this on the other show, so I'm not going to go in tremendous detail. We'll open the phone lines up really quickly after I do the brief shot of news here. The best landing spot, we went through this already. The best landing spot is probably looking like, if it's up to me, I'm going to say the number one landing spot is the New England Patriots, because he's the guaranteed one. He has a top 6 to 10, 6 to 12, whatever you want to put Drake May as, a 6 to 12 quarterback throwing him the ball. And if the team's not good, that's oftentimes the recipe you want to get a wide receiver tons of targets. So this is probably the best landing spot in terms of fantasy. In terms of football fit, maybe not. Maybe Buffalo, maybe Ravens, maybe a couple teams like that make a lot more sense from a, okay, can this help you win a championship? Sure. But this is what we're here to discuss more than anything. We'll talk football, but we're talking fantasy. And New England seems to be the best landing spot, if you ask me. I think Buffalo is a close second. You could easily argue they're one. These are kind of interchangeable. And then you have this tier break where it just comes down to a bunch of different factors. You almost can't even rank it. I mean, I like Baltimore, and you might not think that based on my constant Baltimore never produces a top 20 wide receiver. Smitty, you say it all the time. Like that's true, but DK is almost like Mark Andrews. This is like the new Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is aging out, and DK Metcalf, while he's a wide receiver, I think this is going to be his touchdown safety net. If DK does end up in Baltimore, we're not hearing any news about that yet, but I'm saying that it should be talked about. It might be talked about. We might hear more and more. Remember, things are kind of like quiet right now. We might hear some things kicked into high gear of conversations we weren't privy to until tomorrow, the next day. Chargers could be in the mix for sure, and that's an attractive spot for a player. That's where he might seek out. Remember, DK requested permission to seek a trade, and the permission was granted. So he's going and poking around. Where might he poke around? Where might his agent be like, hey, Pittsburgh? Does he like Pittsburgh? I don't know. Players seem to like Pittsburgh. I don't think that's a good spot. Denver, it's a pretty good spot, but Sutton's there. It's hard to know what that would look like, but it's a great football spot. It's a good fantasy spot. Is it better than New England? No, it's not. Yeah, the Green Bay Packers probably third, just because he probably becomes the number one. I'd probably say yeah. I think it's probably the third best spot if we're kicking around locations. LV could, if they get Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders or Justin Fields. Houston's a great football move. Nico and DK and Stroud, you're back. Stroud's back at that point. Dallas with DK, oh my God, that'd be unbelievable from a football perspective. We don't like that for CD. We don't necessarily love it for DK. Buffalo is fantastic. Washington, again, cry me a river if you don't like seeing the logo up there for this conversation. But if it were me, and this is about me, this is not about what Washington's going to do, I still do it. I don't care what any of you think. I still do it. That's the button I press. They won't. They probably won't. But I'm leaving it up there because guess what? I believe it's a conversation worth having, and I don't care what anybody thinks. But I also think it's something that, like, if we have the conversation, if the Debo trade didn't happen, I think that they'd be trying this maneuver first. But they didn't know. They didn't have that information quite yet. And so they had to pounce on the Debo Samuel value because it was still very good value. Wide receiver free agents, we got Christian Kirk added to the list. Obviously, Devonte Adams and Godwin are the top wide receiver free agents right now in the NFL. Arguably the top two free agents, period, unless you do believe Fields is as good as I think he could be, or if you believe Darnold didn't fold and he's still a good quarterback. But there's a lot to talk about in regards to that. We've got Tyler Lockett released as well, so I guess we should put Lockett on here. I don't know how much I really value, that's the cuff board, how much I really value Lockett, to be honest, but that guy is 575 years old, so I'm going to put him on here, but just so I don't hear people crying and complaining about it. Lockett goes on there you go. All right, now let's get back to the news, and as I said, DK Metcalf has requested a trade, and the Seahawks have decided to allow it and explore this opportunity. So DK's out there knocking on doors. Him and his agent are going to see what's what. This is news from yesterday. I think it's worth putting up that the Athletic says it doesn't sound like the Cowboys are going after running back Ashton Jeanty, but I've cautioned you all, go watch that video, to not listen to everything you hear or read, because these are people making assumptions and connecting dots when there really isn't anything to connect at this point. Oh, he doesn't have a top 30 visit scheduled with the Dallas Cowboys. He's already said, I'd rather go play in Dallas than anywhere, so you don't need to waste that visit on a Jeanty. You're still going to meet with them. He still could come to the Dallas workout. You're still going to go to the Boise State Pro Day. There's so many opportunities. You could then still invite him over. Like, this is wild to me that people are connecting dots from that strategic move, not to mention at 12 overall. If you did want to take Jeanty, you wouldn't want to tell anybody, and maybe not having a pro day or a visit scheduled would make it seem like maybe you're not that interested, and that would be good. That's what you would want if you were trying to stay low and under the radar about it. But that doesn't mean that the Cowboys will draft Ashton Jeanty. They could very much try and go get Judkins in round 2, maybe trade down, they take, or trade up from round 2 into round 1 again and take Hampton, whatever. There's a lot of different ideas and concepts. They could also bring back Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle is a free agent, and they very much like him, and Jerry Jones is clearly off his rocker. So them bringing back, which there's word they could have interest in them. We said this last night, that this could also pop up real quickly at any moment. They have interest in Rico Dowdle potentially coming back. And Rico Dowdle, if he's smart, he will take a hometown discount to get on a team as a starter to try and earn a starting job that will only lead him to a potential shot at money versus waiting too long, not getting a shot, and ruining his career. So if he wanted to try, he could get on this team right now before the NFL draft, and they're going to pair him with a later rookie instead of an early drafted rookie. So we'll see what happens there. But Jerry screwing this up we would not put it past Jerry at all. Jeanty's not a lock to go at 12 at all, but he's not ruled out. This is ridiculous information if you're seeing it. Cooper Kupp, there's a new report by Adam Schefter as much as about 30 minutes ago by the time I clipped this. This is a report that Rams GM is talking about a scenario where Cooper Kupp returns to the team next year. There is a scenario, but when you get into probabilities, that would be the least likely. So I don't want to tell you no today. There is a possibility he returns. And we talked about this too when Matthew Stafford decided to take less money and stay in LA instead of going and getting a bigger deal. And it sounds like the Giants had a deal set up. A contract was set up, and also the trade package was set up for Stafford to head over to New York to throw footballs with Malik Neighbors. But Stafford said no to more money, took less money, is going back into a 1 year at a time type approach with the Rams, which is, it's nonsense that he even played this game because he wanted to have the long-term deal. He was offered the long-term deal. The Rams didn't give him the long-term deal. The Rams are going to give him what he wants for the 2025 season. But now he's playing this game, this 1 year at a time game again, when the whole reason Stafford started this whole situation up was he wanted a long-term commitment. So Stafford played games with everybody, including Newsworlds. And maybe in that negotiation, though, we don't know, he might have said, you try your damnedest to get Cooper Kupp back. That could have been in the conversation. We just don't really fully have the details. We were not a fly on the wall. I wish we were. This Kirk Cousins news. Kirk Cousins said he expects, Mike Garafolo said that Kirk Cousins, he expects him to wait until after the draft to request a trade. Kind of an interesting, situation, because you might catch a team that thought they were going to get taken care of via the draft, and they don't get the players they want. Kind of like the Raiders last year, where they thought they were going to get a QB at 13. We said they wouldn't. We said Penix would be gone inside the top 10. No, Smitty, Penix isn't going to go in the top 10. He'll barely go in the first round. All that nonsense. All the quarterbacks were gone. Raiders crap the bed diarrhea style. And so maybe that's what Kirk's thinking, is that maybe he'll be able to capitalize on maybe a team whiffing at the quarterback position. But I would say that, your value really is before the NFL draft, when teams are saying, well, we'll put you in consideration with our plans. But if everybody starts and goes and fills spots and spends money and locks all these players up, and then they got to sign these rookies and save a bunch of money for it, there's a lot less movement after the NFL draft.
Someone is at the front door.
God, this happens every time we start a show, does it not? Hold on one second. Let's see if I can get open. Let's see here. Okay. Ziggy, show me the front door.
Okay.
Ziggy, volume 10. Ziggy, volume 0. Hold on a second.
Hello.
Where were we? What was I even talking about? Kirk Cousins. Oh, I was saying that that Kirk Cousins might have a lot more ability to draw up interest, though, before these teams, commit to all these different things. So I don't know. We'll see. He also has a no trade clause, so Kirk Cousins is going to be tough to trade because he's going to want the perfect situation. And if he waits until after the draft, if this report's true, and I kind of feel like it's 50% likely to be true, 50% not, there's not a lot of opportunities he's going to have. He might luck out in one or two teams needs a QB, but is that going to be the place he wants to go? So hard to say. I think he'll be pretty good. Hit that thumb up button. Travis is right. We only got 36 thumbs up, and we've got over 150 to 200 total people in the building if you include all the platforms. Thank you, Travis. Appreciate you all. Hit that thumb up button. I do need a robot butler. I need people to stop ringing the doorbell and coming to my door at showtime. It's like nonstop. And then I had the door locked and bolted, so Miss Smitty couldn't get in just a minute ago. That was part of what that was. All right, let's get to some of this other news. Kirk Cousins, we have I think that's all the news really for today. We had the let me see if I can pull up I don't have it in front of me, but obviously you got a big deal for Max Crosby, which is awesome, and there's a lot of Niner news, and speculation. Oh, maybe we can get Max Crosby. Like the Niners think they can get everybody, and that was the biggest bunch of rumor, nonsense going around with Max Crosby. And I think the Max Crosby, maybe he gets traded, then he gets a big fat deal, is kind of a blueprint and a harbinger of things to come in regards to the Myles Garrett situation, at least initially. And if Myles Garrett can create enough animosity and divide between he and the team, they will eventually look to trade him. That doesn't mean they're going to sell to the highest bidder, but they'll look to trade him. They'll be in a situation where they're like, okay, this isn't going the way we want. We thought we could strong arm him, but he's not going to budge, and he's going to stand on principle, this guy. And right now it's making our offseason, situation a mess. And it's kind of like, think back to Ayuk. The Niners didn't want to trade him. They were literally standing firm. But Ayuk made it such a circus show over in San Francisco because Shanahan and the Niners started it all off, making it a circus show. And then all of a sudden, mother freaking Brandon Ayuk comes in and makes it even worse. And the situation just got worse and worse and worse. Breaking news here that there's a team willing to give up at least a third-round pick for Seahawks DK Metcalf. I don't think that'll get it done. You never know. But there's a current report that's stating that there are third-round potential offers going out right now. Team willing to give up a third-rounder for DK Metcalf. I can put that up on screen right now so you guys can see the report right here. But that's probably not going to get it done. It might. You never know. Sometimes these values, especially he's going to turn 28 this year. Debo's older than him by a bit, so I think it's a different valuation. But at the same time, the cost that Debo just was sent for is going to have some impact on the value of DK, just because even though there's an age difference, there's going to be a lot of comparable. What is he getting? What are you getting for him? What's the value? Here's the report right here from our boys over at Underdog. And Underdog, promo code Smitty, by the way. Promo code Smitty if you want to do a 2025 draft and see where you can get DK Metcalf. He's been a steal in fantasy drafts. One of my better, bigger dark horse wide receiver 1 sleepers. If you're going with the late wide receiver 1 build, then DK's perfect. But this is the report here that the team is willing to give up at least a team is willing to give up at least a third-round pick for DK Metcalf. That probably is the Patriots, and I think the Patriots are just starting low. I think they'll give up a second. I would give up a second for DK Metcalf. Don't tell anybody, but I'd probably give up more. Depends on my situation. Depends on what my team looks like. Depends on how much he could help me win. But why wouldn't you give up a second? I don't care if there's money involved. And he'll probably require a new deal, but I don't know that it will be necessarily a must in this particular situation because DK wants out badly. So he could very well do a good faith, once they get over, let's work on it. And you got to understand that your agents can even tell you, like, look, DK, they're trading a second, let's say it's a second round pick at the end of the day. They're trading a second round pick for you. They want to keep you long term. So just get it done now so that we can agree upon it. And then they'll work out the deal. You'll get your money. There's no way they don't want to pay you and have you, long term locked up. But yeah, let's give it 2. Let's show some respect toward DK Metcalf. He's a 12 to 15 potential touchdown wide receiver any given season. We got people talking about 3rd and 4th round pick. What's going on here? This Mickey Mouse offer. But Cooper Kupp, DK Metcalf, JSN to the moon. Value on the rise for both of these Seattle wide receivers if a move does happen, because it just opens up more targets for both of them. To the mother freaking moon for both of them, to Saturn, to Jupiter.
To Saturn.
Both of them are going to have phenomenal years if they're in different spots. This guy specifically is one of the craftiest 3rd round wide receiver ones you can still find in round 3. You're drafted in round 3 and you're foregoing a wide receiver 1 all the way up to round 3. You go RB, robust RB, and you go in that direction, something along the lines of like you're in round 1 right here, and you take let's say you take Bijan, and then you're in this round here and you take Breece Hall, and then you're sitting here and you go JSN smash. What if you were to get crazy and go JD5 and then somehow you get DK Metcalf in this, like, this is round 5, this is round 6, 7. This is a fantastic wide receiver 1 if you were to get just crazy up in here and just go running back, quarterback, and Laporta, or let's say you get another RB right here. Let's say Chase Brown falls to your 4th round pick. Are you nuts? Bijan, Hall, JD5, Chase Brown, DK. What are we talking about? By the way, I get a text message from my boy Ryan Hollins. Dude, you are right. Good work. Oh yeah, hey Ryan. Ryan's talking about DK Metcalf. I thought you were talking about me being right about Luka when you were saying that. I thought because I remember I told B Wood. For those that don't know who Brendan Haywood is, he's a famous basketball player, as is Ryan Hollins. Ryan, call in. You want to talk Luka real quick? Just real quickly. I know this is a football show. But if you want to call in, if you're able to call in.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Or just call my cell phone. But if you want to discuss, you're always right. He says, if you want to discuss Luka real quick. I told B-Wood, I told everybody, this trade is going to make the Lakers win the NBA Finals, and it's not going to even be close. It's going to be easy work, light work. And as LeBron and I think a few people have said, they're saving the NBA. Text it. Just call this number, Ryan, and I'll put you on speaker. What's up? What's up, Mr. Hollins?
Hey, what's up, Smitty?
What's up, bro?
Good work, brother.
Yeah.
Are we on?
Yeah, we're live. So, do you think that? So, for those that don't know who Ryan Hollins is, Clippers, and you're the Clippers official announcer. Are you the top guy, or are you the second in command? Ryan, you're the
Rockets. The Rockets.
Why do I say the Clippers? Why do I always say that? Clippers. Oh, Clipper Daryl. I probably mix. I don't know why. Rockets.
Yeah, I hope you guys are getting along, by the way.
Yeah, no, we aren't. But Rockets, also former NBA player. So our buddy, Brendan Haywood, said that I was completely dead wrong when I said this Luka trade is going to have the Lakers winning the NBA Finals, and he's like, it's not going to happen. Do you think I'm right, Ryan?
I don't think it's NBA Finals, but they definitely improved, and they definitely, for sure, improved their chances. You got to think Oklahoma City really, really good. So that's going to be a tough matchup for them. It's Oklahoma City the problem because they shoot the three ball really well. So they're big, but they can't extend out. That's the problem.
I got a couple Celtics in the live chat. A couple people are mad that we aren't discussing Celtics right now. But hey, Ryan, you like DK? Where do you want DK? You want DK in Baltimore? You want DK in Pittsburgh? You want DK in New England? You want DK in Green Bay? Do you want DK in Buffalo? Chargers, Texans, Raiders. Where do you?
First off, I'd love to have him with the Texans. That would ignite the city. You got some injuries at the wide receiver position, and there's definitely a need. He's a big physical wide receiver, so he can block. He changed the dynamic here, and you can pair him alongside with Nico Collins, and you got a lot of action. Secondly, I think as a fan favorite, you'd like to see him with Lamar, but the thing about Lamar is so prolific that he sometimes can pull away from his other stars. He can pull away from Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Pull away from, Andrews. I think Lamar is going to lean on likely this next season. Most likely,
I agree.
He probably takes over Adams. Andrews. So,
Andrew, I agree. I likely.
For fun, we say Baltimore. The Patriots are a team that has nothing to lose. They probably have the money to go out and pay him. And I think it's going to come down to DK as a player, since he's asking out, to say, do you want to win? Do you want to win, or do you want to get paid? So
as a professional athlete yourself, and if you could put yourself in DK's mind space, where he's 27 years old, he hasn't been winning, he hasn't been getting paid like some of these other guys, so you're wanting winning and money at the same time. How much of him, if it's you, is going after the New England situation to get the bag, or going after a little bit lesser money grab situation to get maybe a championship? Because he's only 27. It's not like he's 32 looking for, a championship and that's all he wants. Like, I kind of think money's going to drive him more than situation. So in fantasy-wise, New England's better than... And Green Bay's better, and Buffalo's better than any other place probably. I agree with you. Baltimore is really, really intriguing from a football perspective. But, yeah, Lamar doesn't produce top 20 wide receivers ever. I do think, however, though, his skill set's a little bit different, so you get like 10, 12 touchdowns, so it could be pretty close. But what is going on in his mind if you were him and you're 27 years old? Is it bag or is it championship?
It's championship for sure. And DK
Really?
probably would love to get to a big market. He'd love to be playing on a lot of Mondays and a lot of late Sunday games, those primetime games. So I think he's going to chase that. With a name like that, if he does take less, he's so marketable. He's going to make his money off the field. So I think for DK at this point in his career, it's all about winning and then getting paired along into an offense that he feels like, he can get the catches, he can get the accolades, he can flourish. Imagine lining up, you're 6'4", you can outrun everybody on the field, and you don't touch the football. So I think for him, he's going to be a guy that wants to flourish numbers-wise and obviously winning-wise.
Draft JSN this year. He's going to be unbelievable. JSN's going to the moon. Even if Geno's not a great quarterback, but he's efficient enough to get one man the ball and really 1.5 men the ball. So, they'll address the wide receiver position. They just lost Lockett. So, like, maybe the Seahawks get Amari Cooper. Maybe the Seahawks bring in Christian Kirk. Maybe the Seahawks bring in Slayton or someone like that. They're going to bring in somebody to keep, and they'll draft somebody, I'm sure. But yeah, JSN's going to the freaking moon. And he's so dynamic. He's kind of like he's a slot. He can play the slot. He can play anywhere. So it's kind of like double teaming him isn't the option that a lot of people are going to default to and say, because this is like double teaming CeeDee Lamb. How does that work for you? This guy's all over the field. You can't really double team him. Cooper Kupp in his prime. How could you double team him? You really couldn't.
Let me ask you this, Smitty. How do you think about the 49ers? Obviously,
he's a Niner fan, by the way.
Obviously, Ayuk on the trading block. Debo's out of there. Is there not an immense gap there? And obviously, with the run scheme, him being able to block, that the 49ers could go after that, or do they have money issues and why they're making those moves? You heard from San Francisco.
There's no way you're getting into this conversation with DK. What you're doing is you're first of all, there's talk about trying to trade Ayuk already, which is crazy because any player on a fresh new deal, the dead cap is through the roof. It's almost an impossible trade. The only reason it's possible is because we've seen teams doing it lately, and the perception of it isn't as bad as it used to be. Russell Wilson was paid $35 million by the Broncos last year to play for the Steelers. So, I mean, it's wild to me. But the dead cap on Debo alone was $31 million. You have Niner fans everywhere trying to paint a picture like the Niners saved money. They may not be paying him some future money, and that's the way you can dress this Debo situation up. But Debo is a $31 million 2025 dead cap situation. If you trade Ayuk, that's $39 million in dead cap. There's no room for DK. But on that note, I will say that there's a possibility like a Devonte Adams could end up in San Francisco because you're not giving up draft capital and you're probably not paying him what DK is going to require in a sign and trade, because the most likely scenario with DK is once he gets traded, a contract announcement happens in simultaneous fashion.
Let me ask you this: what is DK? Excuse me. What does Devonte have left in the tank, and where do you think Aaron Rodgers ends up?
I think A-Rod probably. God, I don't know, because like who even wants him at this point? Hard to say. I think the Giants, a couple teams that end up crapping the bed, filling their QB position, might end up having to resort to him being their bridge, and they just say, look, we got to have somebody. So like, is he the ideal situation for the Giants? No. I personally think the Giants are going to trade up into the number 1 overall pick and take Cam Ward. So I think they'll be off the table. I think Aaron Rodgers, despite what we hear and don't hear, and people have shot down, it's smoke season, so I don't buy really anything unless the owners or head coaches come out and said no, which we haven't heard. So I still think the Steelers would be a unique situation where Adams could follow him over, but I think Adams is probably thinking, F that. I went after Carr. That didn't work. I went with Aaron Rodgers. That didn't work. I better stop this nonsense. But you never know. I think you know Aaron Rodgers going to the Saints, probably not going to happen. A lot of people say that. The Vikings, I think there's no way. There's no shot in hell, because you know they're going JJM, or they're trying to bring back Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold coming back is going to be hard to imagine, because if they wouldn't franchise tag him, they certainly aren't willing to pay him the amount of money he's going to command annually. So JJM's a lock in Minnesota. A lot of people say Minnesota, though. I'd say Giants, Raiders, Steelers, Titans might be his only spot, and they're totally going to bridge it this year if they don't go Cam Ward at 1 and they trade down, so they're fine with that. I don't know, bro. Those are the only locations I can even that I think, and it might just be where he retires because he really has no love.
Do you think he would accept a backup role?
No.
If there's a situation for him to play, no chance.
I don't. I think maybe a competition in a spot like let's say worst case scenario, he has to go to Indy, where it sounds like they're giving up on AR5 anyway. Like maybe that scenario, Derek Carr, New Orleans, but that's it. I don't think he's going in, and I think he just retires at that point. But Adams, the best spots for Adams, Denver. The Texans, as you mentioned, need that wide receiver, and Stroud's a pretty attractive quarterback to play for, even though he crapped the bed in our eyes from a fantasy perspective. Buffalo, Adams would be perfect over in Buffalo. The Ravens, perfect for the Ravens. So really at the end of the day, it's Niners, Ravens, Buffalo, Texans, Denver. I think that Adams has about 10 spots he could easily go to that he loves. Aaron Rodgers has maybe 1 or 2. So the odds of them lining up together again are probably slim to none.
How good is Devonte Adams still?
He's either going to be, this is a tough question, because we don't know whether the drop-off is here. It's always knocking at the door. Ziggy, how old is Devonte Adams? Let's find his birthday. 32, but turns 33 in December. Ziggy, volume 10. This is tough. I'd probably say he's a 910 wide receiver in the most ideal situation, meaning his body is going to drop off to the tune of he's not a 1,200, 1,100, yard receiver anymore, but his mind in the right spot, his route running, a good quarterback could feed him double-digit touchdowns. This might be a year where he hangs on to wide receiver 15, 18, 14, probably more like 15 to 20 value because of the touchdowns. But he has to go somewhere where, I think Buffalo makes a lot of sense. I think Denver makes a lot of sense. I think the Ravens make a lot of sense. And like I said, San Francisco does a little bit. I don't know if he'd survive the same way in San Fran statistically, though. I think it'd be more of a football move. Houston, he'd do okay.
Do me a favor. Talk a little more Houston. They were really aggressive in the market last season. Obviously, injuries and offensive line kind of kept them from going where they need to go. Do you think this is another offseason with C.J. Stroud on a rookie deal still, where they get extremely aggressive again, or do they kind of hang back and try to build to the draft?
I think because this is a team that showed up already as a potential multiple playoff win team 2 years ago, I don't think their mindset has changed. I think they just felt like they crapped the bed. They lost Diggs and Dell, and they got decimated at wide receiver. But Stroud definitely did not play well. But you put Adams on this roster, that's pretty solid. He's such a good route runner. And how do you decide what to do as a defensive game plan? Do you double Nico? You can't. Do you double Adams? You kind of can't do that either. But Adams is a guy you almost respect as much, if not some DBs might say more, just off face value. I don't know. This would be a really, really good situation for Stroud to bounce back with. But I think think about it from this perspective. Adams isn't going to cost you some sort of break the bank down the road type of money. It's going to be upfront. It's going to be team friendly. And if you aren't willing to risk the biscuit with your 2025 money in 2025, what are you doing anyway? So I think that they're definitely capable of giving him a very team friendly deal, that's shorter term, that's not going to impact their longevity, and they can still rebuild at the same time. I think they'll be all right.
What do you think about the Eagles? Do you think that they're going to shift the landscape of football, the way teams are building? Because they go out, they pay the mega deal to Saquon, and obviously he deserved it. He showed you his value, but they're kind of like, hey, you can run the football still. They're huge up front. Do you think you're going to see teams try to draft these huge offensive linemen or making moves for running backs? And is the NFL going from a passing-friendly league to running the ball, smashing off football, get you where you need to go? Because they were just more physical than Kansas City.
I don't know if I think they change the landscape as much as they make teams get bolder, because it's kind of like in the NBA when there's super teams, it's like you have more teams trying to get crazy to compete. So if you're the Baltimore Ravens, or the Buffalo Bills are a better example. The Buffalo Bills, had the Eagles not done what they did the way they did it, and paid Saquon, and if you remember, they paid Devonte Smith and A.J. Brown too. They did not need to extend both of them, and they did anyway. They paid through the roof for all three of those players, their tripod. And if you think about it, it's like the Buffalo Bills are probably more likely to go get Adams now, watching the Eagles just cement themselves into a likely repeat, unless, let's say, losing Kellen Moore destroys them like it did when they lost Shane Steichen 3 years ago. So I don't know. I don't think it changes the landscape as much as it's going to make people bolder, because how are you going to compete, if you don't make another bold move? The Buffalo Bills are almost doing it with nobody but James Cook, who is a product of the offense more than he's an elite talent. So imagine if they do give Josh Allen some help. The Ravens were a perfect example of this. They didn't do crap in the offseason, and they finally took instruction, and said, we got to go get a running back. Let's go get Derrick Henry. The Eagles did the same thing. They were falling short, and they went out and got Saquon Barkley. So I think What this does more than anything is it solidifies running backs. You got Bijan, and Gibbs going in the top 15 overall in their draft. You've got Hampton now climbing into round 1 probably. You got Genty going in the top 12 in this upcoming draft, and Barkley getting the most money any running back has ever been paid, $20+ million per year. So the running back is maybe back, which is awesome. And because it's morphed into a more receiver / RB, they're more able to be capable of withstanding the beating. And so now they're kind of worth the money. So I think that's good for the RB.
What do you feel about Baltimore? Like, if you had to kind of assess what's going on there, obviously they were blowing things out the water in the regular season. These are things that we saw. Like, where do they fall short? Because it's getting to the point where we bring up the conversation of Kansas City, the Bills. You're almost to the point where you just truly don't believe in them in the postseason. Is this more a Lamar thing, or is this the way that their team is built? And from a fantasy aspect, is this someone that a group that you're going to be running to again next year?
So you're asking, are the Ravens what then? What's kind of the question?
I'm asking for a Ravens breakdown. From an actual NFL perspective, how do you value them, and can you keep them amongst the top tiers of the NFL, or are they just a regular season team? And then from the fantasy aspect, because it still is a fantasy show, where do you value their guys? Is Derrick Henry a must-have, or do you question his age finally? How do you?
I think him and McCaffrey are hard to buy in, maybe all your eggs in one basket type of, thinking with your drafts. Like example, you do 2 or 3 buddy leagues, then I'm probably not drafting McCaffrey or Henry in either one of those, or all 3 of them.
Why not Henry? What makes you not feel Henry?
Just at some point, I'd rather jump early, and I know that we've been saying this for years. I get it, but that doesn't change the fact that every year we get deeper into this, Henry's going to fall off. It's more likely to happen. And Henry, I would take him in best ball drafts. That would be my advice. And that's why we do best ball a lot. You can get a $3, $5, $10 draft going, and you can saturate the hell out of a contest. You can pick one contest. Like on Underdog, you can choose the Puppy 1 as a specific draft contest, right? It's got X number of entrants, and you could oversaturate the Henry shares in best ball without having the impact that it's going to have on your enjoyment of watching football and watching Henry drop off. And when it comes down to it, it's not a matter of, do I doubt Henry, or am I not drafting him because I don't think it's possible? It's more about, do I like the players around him better? You know what I mean? So it's like if Henry was going in the 3rd round, I'd smash the hell out of that value all day long. Just like Bucky Irving is a perfect example. Bucky's going at 3.1 to 3.5. I love drafting Bucky as a 3rd drafted player. If I had to take Bucky, even though he's top 5 capable at 7 overall, I probably wouldn't draft him. So it's more about like just liking other players better. But I think that it's important to draft Henry in best ball so that you have some skin in the game. And I think the same thing with McCaffrey.
Same question then. Like if I'm going 1 through 5, if you want to throw out there, and I get that top pick, which sometimes I don't like to have it. I like to have 2 picks. I like to kind of like load up and have my choices. Like, where do I go? Like, where do you feel comfortable 1 through 5? Is Lamar a 1 through 5 guy? Like who do you feel comfortable with?
Well, and then 1 QB, no, you can't take it.
1 through 5? Like,
yeah, I mean, look, 1 is probably in PPR, Jamar Chase. Number 2, it's whatever you choose, whether it's Barkley, whether it's Gibbs, whether it's Bijan, whether it's JJ. Those are kind of the top guys. Some will start throwing Puka in right there. But at the end of the day, it depends on your scoring. It depends on if it's 1 QB. There's so many factors. Is your league running back hungry? If it is, then I'm not going wide receiver because I know I can get like a JSN deep in round 3 if it's a running back group, But if it's a balanced group, they'll draft receivers early, whatever. It just depends. But yeah, no, earliest you want to draft a quarterback and a 1 QB is 3rd round, just because you can get away with that. Like or JD5's going around 3, Burrow's going around 4, 5, really 4, 5. Josh Allen goes at the top of 3, sometimes the middle of 3. Lamar Jackson's in the 3rd round. He never breached round 2 in any normal draft. But I know people that, and if anybody's like even saying, well, why would he ask that question? Because most people know that. There are leagues where you have a 1 QB. It's a lot of I don't want to say people that don't know what they're doing necessarily, but maybe guys that dial out of football until the final minute, and then they're good at it. They just don't have time, and you got that group of people. And those people will sometimes draft QBs in like round 2 and round, so then you got to play the game of, do you follow the group to get your value and then know you'll still be in the same place as everybody else later in the draft? Or do you pick your spots and go get the JD5 of this coming season later? And that's, if I'm drafting in a community where 2 QBs go in the top 18, I'm not going quarterback early unless one fall. Like Mahomes falls to round 5 and 6 sometimes. And I know he had a bad year, but he's also got one of the best wide receiver crews in the league walking into this upcoming season. Worthy came on strong at the end. Rashee Rice was a top 5 wide receiver before.
Okay, hold on. How high are you on Worthy right now going into next season?
Tough to say.
How high are you on Worthy? You gotta throw it out because
I will.
If I'm Kansas City, he's there with Mahomes. He kind of took over that, like, I'm more than a speedster role. Like, how comfortable are you? You watched the game, Smitty.
I mean, the problem is Rice was better. So can Rice get back to full strength? And I think he can. He also will face probably, it could be pushed back another year because that's the way these things work, but he might get a 2 to 6 game suspension. My guess is it would be 1 to 2, maybe 1 to 3 games for his off the field situation that happened last or over a year ago. So I don't know. I guess at the end of the day, I'm probably going to draft Rice ahead of Worthy, but they're right in the same place. Like, you almost can't draft both of them because they go in the same exact place. So maybe you mix it up, you hedge your bets, you take one in one league and one in the other. But I have in some best ball drafts, especially earlier on, drafted Mahomes in round 6, which to me is just wild. I love it in best ball, especially. And then I get Worthy and Rice, and then I go running back in rounds 1 and 2. And, if you can get Rice, Worthy, and Mahomes on the back end of your earlier picks, and you have your first and second rounder, and in some cases, a fourth rounder in the middle of all that available for other players, that's how you win. The guy that won Best Ball Mania last year, he won, the over $1 million in prizes. His team had Burrow, Chase Brown, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins on it. But the thing about that is Jamar Chase wasn't even used in his lineup in the final week because best ball, your top receivers start for you automatically in best ball, obviously, and Jamar Chase didn't crack that for him. So it's T. Higgins exploded. So, but the thing about that build is that Burrow was a late pick, T. Higgins was a late pick, Chase Brown was a late pick, and Jamar Chase was the only early pick. So anybody that tries to copy that recipe this year, they're chasing their tail trying to get into the same type of other pieces of the team helping that team win. So you got to look at it. What team resembles that this upcoming season? Well, one of them is the Worthy, Rice, and Mahomes package, because none of that's costing you a first or a second round pick. So if you're going to try and replicate that, you can't chase it. You got to find the new version of it. All right, one more. Then I'm going to roll on with the rest of the show. I appreciate you calling in.
Okay, for those of you watching the Fantasy Football Show, we're here with Smitty, the man with the plan. So Smitty, we didn't talk about this with the fantasy perspective. Okay, give me a best and worst case scenario team for DK Metcalf. So for instance, best scenario, what team would he go to? And are we salivating? And possibly, how high could he go? And give me a worst case scenario where we're going to stay away from him to the late rounds.
Yeah.
What does that look like on both ends?
Okay, let me see here. Gump, you're on the line, but mute yourself, Gump. Behave yourself. He keeps calling, so put him on. Okay, mute yourself. Thank you.
Okay.
I'd probably say the worst case scenario of the likely landing spots. I mean, it's probably going to be like something that we can't really say for certain.
I'm saying.
No. I'm going to say, like, it would be like the Raiders if they didn't have a quarterback and then they don't solve it. It would be something along those lines. I think that would be like your worst case scenario. He goes somewhere where he's trusting the staff to fill the quarterback spot, and then he gets screwed out of it. I think Pittsburgh would be a pretty bad spot. It would look pretty decent to everybody, but at the end of the day, George Pickens, DK, and then a mess of a quarterback situation that even if they go back to Fields, they didn't support Fields. Like, why would Fields even trust the Pittsburgh Steelers after what they did to him and took him out of the lineup after he was 4-2? And there's talk that the Steelers want to retain Fields. And if Russ goes back there, you don't want DK and Russ back. This is a disaster. So Pittsburgh, to me, even knowing that Fields would be the quarterback, that would probably be the one I don't want. You know, a lot of people will run from Baltimore, but I think that this might be the rare situation where the touchdown volume that he gets, because I believe Andrews is going to drop off like you do. I think likely's a really good chance to replace him, but if DK's there, he's like a tight end. You know, this might be the yeah. I mean,
You think he works the middle of the field?
well, I think that in the end zone, he's Lamar's favorite target. So I think Lamar feeds him like crazy. Gump, you're. I told you to mute. You're grunting all over the place, mouth breathing on the phone. Mute yourself. And when I say mute, I mean really mute. Like, use the actual mute button. You got Ryan Hollins. You got a former professional NBA player on the phone right here, and you're mouth breathing on his line.
Smitty, we've got 900 in the chat right now, and you want to call it?
Call what?
You're trying to move on. Go ahead. Get
okay.
back to it. We're back to DK talk.
DK. So the best spot would be probably New England from a fantasy perspective, just because, I mean, May is a good quarterback and the volume's there. It doesn't matter if the team sucks. In fact, that caters to a good fantasy production if they're throwing from behind in the third and fourth quarter. But I think Buffalo would be my next best landing spot, because he would probably be the number one for Josh Allen, and everybody thinking that he won't laser lock on him. Just close your eyes. Picture Josh Allen to Diggs. There was once a day where this man could laser lock on a receiver, and I think he just doesn't have the receiver that he trusts. But he would trust DK Metcalf because he's like a station wagon, size catch radius out there. Just throw it up to DK. And like you said, he's one of the faster players in the league at his size. Like, he would be unreal with Josh Allen. So Josh Allen, and you know what? I think Green Bay could be one of those situations that could be good, but also could be bad, because
How can it be bad?
Because Jordan Love took a little bit of a step back last year, and I don't. Yeah, what do you mean? What?
Are you kidding me?
Jordan Love?
Smitty, I think whatever happened, I don't think it was his fault.
Well, it looks like one of those situations that could be amazing, but I don't know if it would be as good as we think it will be. But you asked me what situation to avoid.
Okay.
I would say
You're right, my fault.
I would say another situation that would be just kind of bad would be like, Dallas would be a good football move. And they're freeing up. I don't know if you noticed, they freed up a bunch of money today. Dak restructured, CD Lamb restructured. They freed up like what, $50 million. So they're maybe looking either to be cheap, and Jerry's going to put it in his pocket, or he goes after DK or something. But I mean, DK, that would be crazy. And I do think Jerry does live in not only Jerry's world, but a world where he's trying to make up for missing on Derrick Henry, because he gets chastised every time he's getting interviewed about that. And I think if he makes a bold move, I think he thinks he can wipe it clean a little bit. So he might be looking at this thing, but I don't know that that's great, because that hurts CeeDee Lamb, and I don't know that he's going to be the player he could be in Buffalo or in New England, in Dallas, where he's kind of sharing. Dak throws a lot, so it's good, but I don't know. And Houston's not great.
Is it more about, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, is it more about system? Is it more about quarterback? Or is it more about a quarterback that you feel like will force feed? I heard you said earlier, force feed the football. Is that where you're giving your value? And you got to start giving me picks. What's the highest I would take? If he goes to a team, where are you picking depending on team. Don't forget to throw that in there.
It's common. It's not one thing overrules the other. It's all situational based. Like somewhere in Buffalo, he gets that spoon feeding, but it's also from a great quarterback and a system that could allow it all to go down and no competition for targets. You talk about getting, targets I mean, it's of course targets probably when you're talking about DK is going to win out. Like the place that could feed DK Metcalf the most targets probably wins out because he'll go up and get everything, but if he goes to like a place where let's say he goes to the Raiders and he is the highest targeted wide receiver, there is a world where it's like if that quarterback sucks, he's catching 3 out of those 8 targets, then it doesn't matter. Like, so there's a happy medium, of course, but I would say DK Metcalf right now his ADP is in a steal territory of like round 6. It's crazy. Because right now he's the number 2 on Seattle. Yeah, he's like 6.1. Travis or somebody look up his underdog ADP real quick. I want to say it's like 6.1. It might have breached with all this news if they updated it into the bottom of 5. But we're talking about a guy that you can literally draft at least as your 5th drafted player, and in some cases your 6th drafted player. So that's complete steal territory. There's nothing not amazing about that, no matter where he goes too. Like he's gonna probably, in the worst of these situations, because he's gonna pick a decent place. He's not gonna go play football in the worst location known to man. But there are better situations than others. If he picks the amazing spot like New England or Buffalo, I think you win a league with DK at 6.1 or 5.10 or whatever. If he goes to Buffalo and these are leagues where you've already drafted in, like you've drafted on underdog, you've already taken them, you're crushing those values. The problem is most people that play in redraft, you're not drafting until September or August, or you draft after week 1 starts in your league half the time, Ryan, because you don't even pay attention as the commissioner. But
I had one bad year, okay?
I think there's been 2 years in a row we've drafted after week 1.
I've never drafted every week.
Yes, we have. I remember we're like, no. We drafted after week 1. It was either this year or last year.
Okay.
Because
how much money do you want to put into this draft, Smitty? Because you're doing this. What money do you want to put in? Or what do you want to put on the line? I'd take your pride over your money. You're already bald. I don't want to go bald. Like let's do something. What do you want?
Let's do you come on my show with Smitty written on your forearms, like the sleeve tattoos, and then you come on the show, and I'll have Ryan Hollins on my arms.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
And I shave it. By the way, there's still hair there. By the way, just because it's clean.
I mean, you look great.
Just because it's clean.
No, listen, you look great, brother. Regardless,
You should try the clean look. Just go straight down. Straight down.
I don't know if I can do it, dude.
Okay, what were we saying? DK. Okay. Oh. So what?
You told me to take DK in the 6th round. Is there a team that makes me take DK in the 2nd round?
Okay, but here, let me finish. What I was gonna say is, if he goes to Buffalo or New England, somewhere great, he's not gonna be in the 5th round anymore. So he probably climbs to round 4 or higher. Did we get an underdog value at 48? So it looks like fifth round. He's in the 5th round right now. So he was at one point at like 6.1, but he looks like he's in the 5th round. This news probably moves him to the end of 4 just off of the news and spec. An actual trade that is good for him, or really any trade that puts him in even if it's not as good as we want, but it's more targets, probably puts him at 4.1 to 4.8. The question you got to then ask yourself is, did that value change too much to where you want to bounce, or is it still good? I think 4th drafted player value is good. I think 3rd drafted player value is a little riskier, but I think I still would pay it if it was bookend 3rd, 4th. Like you're basically taking 2 players near at the same time, and I got to reach a little bit just to get DK. I would do it versus the 4.2, take him with the 3.11, or the 3.10 and then the 4.3. You take somebody else, but you switch it because you can get the other guy later, and then you take it. Because if you go RB, let's say you go in your home league where Kyren goes in round 2. If you don't know, bro, Kyren Williams and Breece Hall are both in the 3rd round on underdog ADP. So if you're, so but let's say in a non-best ball environment. So in your draft, let's say this year, Kyron's going around 2. He'll go at the top of 2 probably. But if you went, let's say Bijan and Kyren in rounds 1 and 2, DK at the end of 3 would be marvelous as your wide receiver 1. Like you could almost go DK and JSN as your wide receiver 1 and 2. That would be great. But DK is your low-key wide receiver 1 in a good spot, I think is fantastic.
And it's low-end wide receiver 1, and this is him going to Buffalo.
I take him
comfortable with him in Buffalo.
mid-3rd.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. I know I said like 310. I'd probably say, you know what? Just you saying that, just hearing it out loud. 3.5. 3.5.
That's only Buffalo that makes you feel really good.
Yeah, New England. Well, New England and Buffalo both make me feel 3.5 good. I think I do that. 3rd drafted player, that's great, especially if you go RB, or let's say you get a steal at wide receiver in round 2 or whatever. Let's say you get BT and let's say you go Genty and BT, or St. Brown and Genty, and then now you get DK, and then after DK you get Lucky, and I don't know, you could get a Chase Brown, you could get someone like that. But yeah, I think DK Metcalf is one of the most undervalued, physically gifted players in the National Football League. And as I've said on this channel, the last show when we broke the news on the DK Metcalf trade request, when news goes, breaks, I go live. That particular show, I kicked out the Washington Commanders as still being a team I would, if I was the Commanders, go after DK. And people get their panties in a bunch. Like, they just got Debo. I don't care. I'm there to do what the Eagles. What did you just say when you got on the phone? The Eagles are doing things in a way that other teams aren't. If you go get Barkley, AJ Brown, you got Devonte Smith, you got Jalen Hurts, you need firepower. And who's stopping? Who's just gonna stop when DK? The word as of right now, the word that just came out while I was live about a half hour or 45 minutes ago, and I'm not saying that the Washington Commanders will. I'm saying I would. And by the way, dropping 20 gifted memberships. Thank you, BBQ. Dropping 20 gifted memberships.
Hey, Smitty.
Yeah.
Is Daniels the best quarterback in football?
Yeah, I think so.
God, hold on. Well, where's he going? What?
Well, who told everybody that last year? Me.
Wow.
Me. Who told everybody he was going to be that good? Me.
Wow.
You're talking to him. Did I not? Or were you not even paying attention? Were you not even paying attention?
Oh, no, I pay attention. When you say certain things, I try to blow you off, but I gotta give you credit.
Look, JD5, I mean, would I draft Josh Allen over JD5? Yeah. Like, I would hedge it, if I had, especially like, think of it in underdog terms. In underdog terms, if you're doing underdog drafts and you're going to do 200 drafts, let's say, you're not going to want all your eggs in one basket, especially when they're both really good. Like, am I willing to risk the biscuit if, let's say, Breece Hall is at 4 point, let's say Breece Hall fell to 3.8 in every one of those drafts? I'm probably taking him in every, and I'm saying, F it. If he goes down, so be it. I'll lose the whole year. But if I get Breece Hall at 3.8 in every draft, that means I have every one of those drafts, if he lands, to have a different variant to win the Best Ball Mania draft. So, like, there's certain players that if they're at the right value, I will go all in on. I don't care if it's 100% ownership. Like, screw it. I'm a risky mother effer.
So hold on. If in your money league, I'm in the money league that counts, right? I'm going Daniels over Allen.
I think you, like I said, hedging it is kind of smart. So if you do, let's say, 2 buddy leagues, and you were in the position to draft either one, you could do Josh Allen in one and JD5 in the other. Because if one gets hurt,
No. I'm saying my money league. My money
One league. Yeah. I think if a push came to shove, I'd go JD. Well, why is that surprising? Why is that surprising though? But it was bold last year to say the things we said about him. So I mean, it's not that bold to me.
Wow.
And not to mention you just handed him Deebo Samuel. You know, and the odds are they probably go after one of these top 5 rookie running backs. Why? Because Adam Peters, he came from the Niners. He's the best GM in football. Him and Howie Roseman are the 2 best GMs in football, hands down. And Adam Peters comes over from San Francisco after identifying Kittle, after identifying Brock Purdy, after identifying all these players, and he brings Deebo over, doesn't bring Ayuk over. What happened to Ayuk? When he said, I don't want Ayuk, what happened? Ayuk absolutely became a head case, and then he got injured, and you could say, oh, he didn't predict injury. Doesn't matter. Adam Peters is a magician. And if he thinks that Deebo's still got a lot left in the tank, and you're gonna hand JD5, look, first of all, JD5 was already that good last year at the end of the year. Like, he was on the verge of being the best quarterback in fantasy, best quarterback in the NFL. Like, there's a little bit of space, right? Well, what happens now? You hand this offense a mobile, a wide back that you have to now worry where the hell is he going to be, and you can't even double team Deebo ever because you're spying where JD5 is. This is the perfect player to hand JD5 out of any player you could have went and got. When you really break it down and you say this is a guy that's going to play running back and wide receiver, and he's the best yak yardage player maybe to ever play the game. And that's not me being bold, that's statistical data. He is maybe the best yak yardage player to ever play the game. And maybe he's dropping off. Maybe. Wow. But didn't he look good at the end of the year when Shanahan showcased him in like week 17 and 18 and he was all over the field? He's getting water. They said he was announcing the game, getting water, returning kicks. They had him doing everything so that they could trade him. And it was clear as day Shanahan was doing that. You know, ask yourself the question, why did Jordan Mason go on IR? Do you know?
Why?
Well, I mean, he had the ankle situation, but it was a sprained ankle. He went on IR because he's a restricted free agent. And he didn't want, no, it's true. He didn't want him to gain value because he was already gaining a lot of value, and he didn't want an offer to be too high for them to have to turn him down. So they put him on IR for a sprained ankle. Deebo Samuel, the most mileage in a nothing burger season. Why the hell are you running Deebo so hard in week 17 and 18 when there's nothing to play for? Because he was going to trade him all along. Shanahan's the easiest person to read. So anyway, long story short, Adam Peters, trust the man. If he thinks Deebo's still got gas left in the tank, he's still got gas left in the tank. And Deebo Samuel is going to turn JD5 into a much more dangerous person to contend with. And it's going to be so hard. He might run for 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns on the ground. This is like having a running back 2 in your lineup. This is like Michael Vick days. Remember back in the day, you played fantasy during the Michael Vick days. Yes. It was like literally like having another running back. It was crazy.
And he came out the waiver wire, bro.
Yeah.
He was dropping 50 balls out the waiver wire. I mean, there's nothing like it.
Here's my prediction, okay? 4,000 passing yards. I think he had like 3,100 as a rookie. Like 4,000's doable for sure. You could easily make that leap. 4,000 passing yards, 33 passing touchdowns, 11 rushing touchdowns, and 1,000 yards rushing. That's what JD5's going to have. He'll be the number 1 overall player in fantasy football, hands down.
Okay, so there's no more Josh Allen talk.
No, I mean, look, Josh Allen scored 40. What do you have? 40.
So okay, Smitty, for those who hadn't been paying attention, how do I take him? He's my first pick, late first?
No, third round. That's the beauty of it. He's the best player in fantasy football, but people are too brainwashed in this industry to draft a quarterback where they belong. Let me ask you a question. Why do quarterbacks go in the third round? Because everybody and their mother creates content around don't take a quarterback early. Don't take a quarterback early. Let me ask you another question. Let's say you own JD5 or Josh Allen and you got him at 3.1.
Yes.
Good value, right?
Yes.
Okay, week 1 kicks off. Tomorrow's opening day. The draft's already done. We all have our players. Are you trading Josh Allen for anything close to a player that's not a top 10 overall player?
No.
Yeah, so that's like driving the car off a lot, and it'd be worth $10,000 more than it was when you bought it. That's how you know that the position's undervalued. When you literally couldn't steal Josh Allen or JD5 or Lamar away from somebody without using a top like 5 or 6 overall player, like you can't trade the number 10 overall pick for Josh Allen on week 1 opening day. So it's the most undervalued, grossly undervalued position, and that's why they call me the king of early quarterback. Even though I'm the one that identified JD5, even though I'm the one that identified Josh Allen, even though I'm the one that identified Jalen Hurts, and I do couple those players with drafting early quarterback, and then you got trade bait galore. But the reason people coin me as early quarterback is because I'm the only one here to defend the fact that we're stealing quarterbacks away in the 3rd round when they belong at 12 overall. JD5 should be going at 12 overall. Josh Allen should be going at 12 overall, but we don't tell anybody, Ryan, but we don't have to take them there.
Okay. Since this is a DK Metcalf special.
All right, last question.
If last question. If Josh Allen gets DK Metcalf, do you give him the edge over Daniels?
I think we start having a very fun debate in that we need to digest that. But that's certainly equivalent to getting Deebo Samuel is kind of the same conversation. Like Josh Allen had a slight edge, and now that Deebo's in Washington, I think JD5 gets the advantage. So you give DK to Josh Allen, and it's like these guys. Part of me wonders if the world will smarten up for 1 year and draft both these guys in round 2. If Josh Allen gets DK. And that kind of makes people remember what's really going on with JD5, and it just reminds him, shines the spotlight on it. Maybe the world smartens up and they're both 2nd-round picks. But if not, we're still screaming steals at every draft. Like I take Josh Allen. I've done probably maybe 250, maybe 220 underdog drafts so far, best ball drafts, because we do them, at midnight, and I think there's maybe, I don't know, 5% or 7% of those drafts I don't have an early quarterback. Because in the 3rd round, I'm either smashing the hell out of Josh Allen, JD5, one of those guys, or I'm lucky to get Mahomes in round 6, and I still consider that a poor man's version of a late quarterback because I think he's gonna have a good year. I think Mahomes is grossly undervalued. People are too attached to what happened last year. When you really think about the fact that he had Rashee Rice go down, he lost Hollywood Brown, Worthy wasn't ready, Kelsey, kind of faded. Like he had nobody. Like he walks in with Worthy and Rashee Rice is quietly a top 5 wide receiver room in the league, but like a frog in boiling water, you throw him in boiling water, he jumps out, right? You put him in lukewarm water, turn it on, he slowly boils to death. People are just slowly, I think, boiling to death at the idea that this wide receiver room, as soon as Rice gets back, the switch gets flipped and they're a top 5 wide receiver room. I don't think people really understand it. So Mahomes to the moon.
Yeah. So you're putting Mahomes back in this conversation
at 6th round value. Absolutely.
Wow. But you're taking Daniels at 3.
Yes.
Oh God. You don't think that this last year was just an off year?
Well, I mean, you just said a minute ago, do I take Lamar Jackson in the top 5? Like you're willing to take Lamar, let's even say at 12.
No. I didn't say
well,
I would do that. I'm asking a question.
I know, but
somebody who would do that, and people
okay,
do that.
but like, how is 3rd round JD5 wild? And look, what JD5 is he's like, think about it from this perspective. Has he even scratched the surface, do you think? Why are we judging him on his coming out of his rookie year like level? Like, imagine that. Like Joe Burrow, Herbert, they had good rookie years, but
because aren't the greats where you can do that?
But they're still going to be so much better that next year or two. Like the fact that everybody just assumes JD5 is leveled out already, it's wild. Like he's only going to get better. He's going to throw for 1,000 more yards. He's going to have probably 8 to 10 more passing touchdowns, probably 200 more rushing yards. And if not, he'll have more touchdowns to account for that. He's on the way up, bro. He's on his way. Hey, I got to run, Ryan, just because I got to wrap the show up, and I got a food order I got to go pick up too. But I appreciate you.
Hey, Smitty,
Hey,
you're the man, dude.
hey,
I
appreciate you
man.
calling in and
You're a fan. You keep it up, Smitty.
tell Brendan Haywood that he's wrong. That
I'm telling he's wrong.
the Lakers are. You know what
We have 700 people in here.
You know what the punishment is? You know what the punishment is for losing
What's his punishment, dude?
he has to do, what did I say, 200 push-ups on a live stream with me on IG.
Yeah, he'll never get
I mean,
there.
he's so tall, I don't think he will even get the shot in unless we
No.
back up like. And you still think you can beat me in a race, I hear.
Yeah, your knee's horrible, dude. Your knee's chopped.
What can
I
you?
mean, your knee is. I mean, it's horrible. You can't even see your kneecap anymore.
How about
It's disgusting.
a 200-meter race? Can you have your daughters or a buddy record you run a 200-meter on a phone, and then we can, and then I'll do it, and then we'll put it I'll put it side by side and post it on it.
Yeah, too bad you don't have a knee, buddy.
Okay, so when are you going to send me a 200-meter Ryan Hollins 200-meter race video?
Probably after the season, Smitty.
Okay. And when are you gonna? When the part of this might be my fault because I keep thinking you're a commentator for the Clippers, but when the Rockets come to town, why aren't you reaching out to me here in Phoenix? Because
Why aren't you reaching out to me?
I have.
Stop to the game. I've never left you hanging, Smitty.
All right.
Don't do that.
Well, I live about 2 miles from the arena, so when you're
Come to the game. Don't blow me off.
when's the next
Hey,
when's the next game?
Put a Y in the chat if you'd like to see me actually pop in on the show. Put a Y in the chat. Put a Y in the chat.
Well, why don't you come on video next time? Come on video next time. Let's get a panel going.
Yeah, I'll show up live. I'll show up live at Smitty's house, dude. How about that?
Yeah, he won't do that because he won't even call me when he's in town. I've said let's get lunch when you're here, and I don't hear from you. So
Smitty, it's I'm gonna be there. You know what I'm
okay,
there.
okay, I'll text you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
JD5 round 3, do it live. All right, later, Ryan.
All right, dude.
All right, bye. It's Ryan Hollins, former NBA center and Houston Rockets lead commentator. He talks a lot of trash. We're in a fantasy league, and he thinks he's really good. He usually finishes last and talks a lot of mad crap. But as you can tell, he thinks he can. First of all, he's 7 foot. He's 7 foot. There's no way he's beating me in a 200-meter race. And the last time I called him out on, I'm like, let's do a one-lapper on the track. He's like, I can't run long distance. So he wouldn't even do that. One lapper on the track is long distance to the guy. All right. Thank you guys for dropping. Who's on the phone line? Is it Marsman Rockout? Gump hung up. We got a super chat here. Happy smoke season, Smitty. Thank you, Cheryl, for the $5 hauler. We got Christian Silva with the super chat here. Smitty, I keep hearing that KC and Mahomes are cooked after the Super Bowl and will never bounce back. I personally disagree. Yeah, it's a ridiculous take. That's a beginner's take. That person doesn't know ball. They're just anti, Mahomes or anti-Swift or Taylor Swift or anti-Kelsey or anti-referees, and they just hate. Look, you got to understand, majority of all Kansas City Chief hate comes from some sort of like bias, referee hatred type of thing. Mahomes is still arguably. Do I think JD5 is the best quarterback from like a fantasy football perspective? But like you're starting a franchise tomorrow as a GM, you're still considering Mahomes, JD5, Josh Allen, kind of Lamar all together, but everyone's preference will be different. But if anybody thinks that Mahomes has dropped out of that because of one game, you're out of your minds. And everybody that thinks that losing Toney was a horrible, horrible mistake, this guy was ranked as the, I think, 21st or 22nd pass blocking offensive lineman in the league in 2024. And he also got exposed greatly in the Super Bowl. So there's a chance that the Bears got royally screwed on that trade. Everybody acting like it was the best trade in the world, and the Bears are cooking now. I don't know why. You ask me why one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in NFL history, and Andy Reid decided to dump him. So, and the contract. Real quickly, I got to go rock out. So 15 seconds, hit me with it. Sorry to make you wait so long.
As far as the Texans and their offense with Schultz, you think he can get back to what he was 2 years ago?
Maybe. I'm not betting against it, but I'm certainly not, holding my breath.
All right. Talk to you later.
I appreciate you, Rock Out. Call in tonight. We'll be back probably, okay?
All right.
Gump, you got 30 seconds. Go, Gumpy.
Okay, here we go. This is it. You know the favorite saying for Kirk Cousins is, how'd you like that? Isn't that what he says? Did you like that? Did you like that? All right, here we go. You know where DK is going to go, Smitty?
Where? Somewhere he's not, because
You know where I think
because you just say the
he
weirdest
is going
things.
to go to. He's going to go to Tampa Bay with Baker.
Finish
Baker
him.
Mayfield.
Call terminated.
No, he's not. No, he's not. All right, I'll be back tonight. Appreciate you all. Has Gump ever been right? I don't know if he has. Gump calling later tonight. I got to go. Be back tonight.